Church, if Justin would have said he loved me after 2, 3 days of knowing me, I'd have laughed in his face too. Baby, you don't even know me. I got my notes. I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into this damn mess. All right, y'all, so let's jump right on into our hot topics. So the thing that kept recurring in this episode is this whole notion of, is love a choice or is love a feeling, right? And to that I respond with, I think it depends on the person, right? For me personally, y'all, love is more of a feeling, right? Just like attraction, like I have to feel it for you. If I don't feel it for you, it's not going to build, it's not going to move past it, right? But just in terms of the Married at First Sight experiment, what we've seen throughout the seasons, y'all, is that love and attraction can be both a choice and it can be both a feeling, right? So it depends on the person, it depends on the situation. And I can't really say whether one is greater than the other. I know for me, like, I can't choose to love someone or choose to be attracted to them. Like the way I'm set up, baby, if it's not already inherently there, it's not going to happen, right? But I recognize that in some situations, you know, maybe the attraction is lower than what it needs to be, or your love for the person is lower than what it needs to be, but I'm choosing you because I see value in you and you're my partner and we're going to work through it, and eventually I will get to that place that maybe that you're at, right? So very interesting topic in terms of the recurring theme that seemed to permeate through a lot of these different relationships this episode. So on to our general couple updates, y'all. Let's start with Krysten and Mitch. And let's talk about Mitch's lack of attraction, right? And so I think what we have going on here is two things, right? So first off, Mitch is unabashedly honest, right? And so he cannot sit with thoughts in his head without them coming out, right? Like he promised himself he was going to be completely honest, completely transparent during this damn experiment. And what we're seeing is that, right? Which can be a good thing at times, because sometimes people hold onto those feelings until midway through the cycle when we could have probably addressed them if you would have just said them from Jump Street, right? So he's unabashedly honest. And then we also have to couple that is a fear of commitment, right? And I think that those two sides of him are kind of competing, right? Because he's unabashedly honest, so he wants to tell you what's exactly on his mind, right? But his fear of commitment is always nagging at him, right? And if it doesn't, if the situation with him and Krysten doesn't fit into a defined perfect box, right, then clearly it's not for him, right? It triggers the whole, you know, fight or flight response, and this is not something that he wants to commit to, move forward with. It's not something that fits into his hierarchical sense of what he's used to, right? And so the thing about this experiment and Married at First Sight is you took a chance by getting into this experiment, so you might as well see where it goes, right? You know, like I said in the beginning, right? For me, love and attraction is a feeling, right? But I feel like if you sign up for Married at First Sight, you're trying to get to the point, or you're trying to be open to the fact that it could be a choice and it can build, right? So like I said, he's unabashedly honest and he has a fear of commitment, and those two things are competing with him and making it a very confusing situation for Krysten. Now let's get on into these mixed signals, right? Now, the problem that I have with Mitch, right, and I recognize that he has two things going on at the same time in terms of what we just talked about, y'all, right? But it's the mixed signal, it's the mindfuckation of the situation, right? Because if at 10 a.m. you're not attracted to me, it's going to have to build, I want to be transparent with you. That's your thought at 10 a.m. But we're at 11:39 p.m., baby, and you kissing on my neck, want to hold me close, baby, and you got a boner. Those two things don't go together, right? And so is it that you're trying to let the attraction build, right? And what you're saying is not necessarily what you're feeling, and your fear of commitment is just trying to make you reject something versus actually embracing it? Or are you just horny, right? Like, let's get on into it, right? Like, am I just a warm body to you, or are you warming up to me? And I think that's going to be a really big problem with Krysten trying to understand where he actually stands, right? Because honestly, y'all, I don't even think he knows where he stands, right? Which could really, go back to that whole thing of what his family was talking about of, him not being the best in relationships, or, him being an all or nothing type person. If he doesn't feel it completely, he like backs the hell on out of it, right? And so he's going to have to grow through this process, and she's going to have to get to the point where, you know, she does not let his indecisiveness threaten who she is as a person, right? Because, like, let's get on into it. You may not be attracted to me, but those two things can go both ways, right? You are not George Clooney. You are not Daniel Craig. You are not Vin Diesel, okay? And ladies, do not let a man's lack of attraction to you threaten how you feel about yourself and your own self-esteem, right? You don't let an attractive man do that to you. Don't let an ugly man do that to you. And don't let any man in between do that to you, okay? You keep your self-esteem where it is. And what I really liked in terms of what Krysten said was, you know, if I tried to dissect all of the reasons that you don't like me, it would probably hurt my feelings, right? So instead of doing that, I'm going to be pragmatic. Let's take baby steps towards attraction and move forward with that, right? But then, you know, to combat that, you got Mitch, you know, you're hot and you're cold, you're yes and you're no, and that's just going to confuse the process, right? So what I really liked that she did, hold on, y'all. Y'all, I'm sorry, I'm back, baby. The alarm went off and I had to make sure that they wasn't trying to steal me, okay? Have you ever seen that TikTok video where the girl was recording a video and then somebody broke into the house and then basically it was caught on camera? I was so scared for a minute, but it was just a faulty sensor, so we all good. Now let's get back on into it. So what I really like that Krysten did, y'all, was that she created an ultimatum in the situation. Normally, I am not a fan of ultimatums, right? But in this case, it's kind of like it's a good one that gives you a long time to actually decide, right? Or a relatively long time, right? She said, if after the 8 weeks, we don't either number one, have sex, or you don't number two, develop some sort of love for me to the point where you're professing that love to me, I'm going to ask for the divorce, right? And I think that's honest, and I think that it's reasonable, right? I'm telling you my expectations up front. I'm giving you 8 weeks to decide it, and we're gonna move on from there, right? And I think it's good that Krysten is taking control of the situation, right? Because like I said in a prior review, y'all, if you give Mitch an inch, he gonna take a yard, right? So you're gonna have to take your control in the situation and put yourself first in terms of what you want, so you don't get like mired in the confusion that is Mitch trying to figure out who he is and what he wants, right? Now let's move on to Alexis and Justin, which is a situation that made me laugh, y'all. So Justin is in love, which triggers Alexis's fight or flight. Now listen, I understand that Justin is sensitive. I understand that he wears his emotions on his sleeve. I understand that he's more prone to loving feelings than the average person would be. But I'm with Alexis in this scenario, okay? You've only known me 2 or 3 days, okay? And if after 2 or 3 days, you know, you're in love with me, you see a future with me, I think that that's wonderful, right? But I think sometimes there's a difference between thoughts that you profess and thoughts that you keep to yourself, right? Because if you know me for maybe 2-3 months, okay, yeah, tell me you love me, tell me you see a future with me, that's completely fine. But after 2-3 days, baby, that's gonna kind of trigger my red flag thing, right? Like, why do you love so quickly? Why do you, want to be with me so bad? Like, maybe this goes back into why the lady been proposed to 3 times, okay? Her stuff is like, whoa, people just go crazy out their minds and they just want to profess their love for her, right? But I would have done the same thing that Alexis did in the situation, right? And I don't think it was mean in terms of her laughing, right? It wasn't like she was laughing in his face to make him feel bad about it. It was a nervous response, right? And I'm like that too. If I don't know you very well and you come to me with all of these emotions or these problems or stuff, y'all, I have a nervous tick, right? Like my first reaction is to respond with laughter, right? Like I might start smiling or I might start laughing, and I have to control that. And that's a problem that I have, right? And clearly me and Alexis is from the same tribe because she got the same problem as well, right? So I'm not saying that it's wrong for him to profess the love. I just think that it was maybe a lot too soon. I mean, we just got married at first sight. We 2-3 days in and you already love me. That's a little bit of a red flag for me. But, maybe I just haven't experienced people that maybe me and Alexis just haven't experienced people that wear their emotions on their sleeve and that have a very open nature to love and relationships, right? So maybe his way is not wrong and maybe our way is just jaded and based on a fear of commitment. Who actually knows? But I thought that was just a little bit odd, just a teensy bit odd, a teensy bit odd. Like, To me, if after 2-3 days you're more in visual love than anything, right? Like if you can't fall in love with somebody on a honeymoon where you in like this beautiful, Mexican resort and whatnot, like the situation is prone for people to have those loving feelings and fall in love. That's why they call it a damn honeymoon, okay? But you cannot get caught up in the visual lovation of the situation and like lose your marbles to the point where you're just like saying things that you might have to backtrack later in terms of when you actually know the person, start learning more about them, and maybe they're not as perfect as you initially thought they were, right? All right, moving on. To Stacia and Nate, y'all, I got 3 points on them. So let's talk about this Instagram model ATV ride, right? Now, normally I'm not a fan of people doing tests, right? For people that, I'm going to do this test, but I'm not going to tell him about it. I'm just going to rate him on it in my mind and, see if he passes, right? Normally I'm not a fan of it, but it was honestly, it wasn't that bad of a test, right? She just wanted to see if he was going to be that protector for her, if he was going to try to take care of her in that moment. Now, unfortunately, y'all, Nate did not understand the assignment. Like, homeboy was on vacation. He was not in terms of protecting her. And quiet as it's kept, you was kind of getting on his nerves in terms of not letting him, open up that ATV like he really wanted to, okay? Now, y'all, Stacia was in front of him, the guide was in front of Stacia, and so Nate was in the back, right? And so he was like, go faster. And I'm not blaming Stacia at all, y'all. I'm just saying that because mama was going slower than he wanted to go, it kind of made him get bored, right? And what happens when you get bored, baby, in, millennial times in 2022? You pick up your phone, okay? You pick up your phone, you want to document the experience. Listen, if I can't open this up, then I'm going to get some shots in, I'm going to get some photos in, and I'm going to get some sort of validation for what I'm doing, right? So once again, I'm not blaming Stacia at all. I'm just saying I can understand his mindset in the scenario, okay? Now on the Stacia side, I can understand it too, right? She looking back, Nate is gone, okay? Nate is doing a whole photo shoot back there. You done left me alone with, the guide, a GoPro, and La Chupacabra like biting at my damn heels, okay, in the damn Mexican jungle. So I understand both sides of that damn situation. Unfortunately, Nate, you kind of failed, but, it was a little minor test to begin with, and I don't think that that's a big indication of his love for you, his protectiveness for you. And just because you failed the initial test doesn't mean that you can't make it up in like extra credit and down the damn road. Now on to this conversation, or this recurring conversation, y'all, of this post-nup, right? And once again, I feel like a broken record every time I say this. A post-nup, a prenup, they're not bad words, right? At their core, what they say is this: what we both come into the relationship with is our own separate property, and what we build together as a result of this union, we split down the middle. That's the most fair assessment of a prenup and a postnup that I can actually give you guys, right? Of course, sometimes they get mired in the minutia in terms of like putting in cheating clause or putting in clauses about having kids or, childcare or this, that, and the third. But at the core, it's a very simple, very protective document, right? And it's not saying that, it's not saying that I don't love you. It's not saying that I don't trust you, but it's saying that I love me too, right? And I want to protect what I built, okay? Because, it's taken me a lifetime to get these damn, rental units, to get my business up and running, to get that running in an efficient manner. And you coming up in here with, a failed business, some bankruptcies, some stuff that you might be owing, and you're back on your feet and everything is working now. But, I don't want what I built to have to suffer because of, some stuff from your past, right? So, as long as they're trying to split down the middle what they achieve together as a couple, I don't really see it as a really bad thing or a red flag or a reason for Nate to feel a certain kind of way. Unfortunately, in our society, prenups and postnups are viewed as ugly words, and they really shouldn't be, right? Because you're planning in a good time for how you might act in a bad time, right? Where those loving feelings are not there, where you don't care for the person, and where you're not going to be the best version of yourself, right? So I'm glad he got on the one accord, because Stacia wasn't fitting to continue on in this this marriage without that damn posting up. And I think that that's smart, okay? You cannot get caught up in the lovey-dovey-ation of the damn situation. It will mire your judgment, and you won't be able to move forward with your best intentions in mind, right? Now, on to my last note on them, y'all. She took his last name. Now, on first viewing, I thought it was a bit odd, but after she explained it, I understood it, right? You know, she does not have a relationship with her father. She felt that every single time she wrote her name, it was kind of like a lie. It was kind of like this fake thing. And even if she doesn't end up with Nate for the foreseeable future, you know, that to her is more of an identity than what her father wasn't to her, right? And I think that that's such a powerful thing to glean, right? And I actually wonder about what Nate's feelings are in the situation, right? Because look, all things constant, I've only known you for 2-3 days, okay? And if after 2-3 days you want to, you know, change your last name to mine, and even if we, you know, separate, you want to still have the same last name. If after, you know, the damn 8 weeks you still want to have the same name, it's a little bit, you know, unnerving or whatever. But, you know, I think that the story behind it is so touching that it kind of gets over all the different, you know, weirdness that it might drag up. So really interesting conversation. I don't think I've ever seen a season where the woman took the dude's name off jump. So it's kind of refreshing and kind of an interesting story. Now on to Lindy and Miguel, y'all. So sex is more meaningful to her than it is to him. And I think that it kind of goes back to her upbringing. It kind of goes back to the whole Seventh-day Adventist thing. It kind of goes back to, you know, mature relationships and, you know, the amount of sexual partners, right? In our society, men are viewed as the conquerors, right? They have, you know, all of these women. He's had more sexual experiences, more conquest than she has, right? Or she has had, right? She said that she was with the same person from 23 to like, you know, 29 and right before the experiment or whatever, right? So she's only had one sexual partner. You know, he doesn't say how many he's had, but, you know, through contextual, you know, revelations, we can probably assume that he's had more than one, more than three, more than five, right? Just a normal 30-year-old man and a normal body count for like a 30-something-year-old man, right? And so it's kind of going to be the competing theme of, you know, sex is necessary for him to connect, right? Because he can't fully commit to the relationship, you know, any sort of loving feelings, any sort of liking feelings. Like his like factor, his love factor is tied to the sex, right? Which means that he doesn't put as much value on it, right? And not to say that it's not important, but more so that it's just a part of a relationship to him. It's just a part of showing his love for somebody to express himself in that way, right? For her, growing up in the Seventh-day Adventist church, you're taught to like save yourself, you know, for marriage, and you know, it's very precious, it's a gift, and both things can be true at the same time, right? You can have a very laissez-faire view of sex, and you can also have a very religious upbringing view of sex. I'm not saying either one is right. I'm just saying that I hope that, you know, when she finally, or if she finally, whenever that happens, gives that gift to him, right, he understands the weight of it for her, right? And it kind of gives me like low-key virginal vibes, right? Like, and this is why when people always ask me when, you know, we have these, you know, when my friends come over and we play these like friendship games, you know, icebreakers, get to know your friends and stuff, you know, would you want a virgin? Absolutely not. For me personally, I need you to know exactly what you're doing, and that comes with maturity, that comes with time, that comes with having different partners, right? I don't want to have to teach you anything. I just want to show up to the battlefield and everybody knows what their damn role is and everybody knows where to go from there, okay? Might be selfish, but that is me as a person and my personal, you know, background, right? And so it does give off low-key virginal vibes in terms of it meaning more to her. It gives off, you know, lightweight, clingy type vibes a little bit, but listen, it's kind of mired in the church. It's mired in the religious nature of how she grew up. So I understand, you know, where she's coming from. I just hope that, like I said before, he realizes what a gift it is for her to give that piece of herself despite her upbringing, right? So we'll see how that goes. And lastly, y'all, on to Morgan and Binh. Let's talk about the whole kids conversation. So No big surprise here. Binh has said from the beginning that he wanted kids, and the Asian culture, in terms of what his mom said, the oldest male child is responsible for like continuing the family name or having the children and blah blah blah. She wants grandbabies, etc. Right? And so he's fully ready to experience that portion of life, to go about that road. Right? Now for her, I thought she handled herself very well with his family, right? Where she said, there are certain things that I want to accomplish in life before that's a reality for me, but I'm open to it, right? And then her friend kind of told Binh the real aspect of it, right? Because she cleaned it up for the family, and her friend gave Binh the actual reality of her situation, right? She wasn't really a fan of having kids, but she said, if I meet the right person, it could be a possibility, right? Which is a fair assessment. As long as you are open to the prospect of having kids, I think that it's a conversation that can be had, right? But it would be different if, he was completely gung-ho, I want these kids, I want them now. And she was like, I'm on the fence, I don't really see myself having kids. That would be a problem. But as long as you're open to it, I think it's something that can be worked through. So interesting to see how that progresses. And lastly with them, y'all, let's just talk about them being, high on the married vibes. Nothing really to report. Aside from the whole kids conversation, it was really just the aftermath of the wedding and then just getting on the honeymoon. So really lovey-dovey feelings, nothing really too deep, right? But did y'all peep how Binh keeps talking about how he's lightweight scared of her? And in my mind, he should probably be. Okay, like let's run it down real quick before we close, y'all, okay? Mama walks like a linebacker, okay? And that is not shade. I'm just speaking facts, okay? Me and my mama was watching the damn wedding episode, and she was like, look at this lady walking, okay? She walked like a linebacker. She's just not that graceful, right? So that's number one. Number two, she preferred beer over wine, okay? Most women, they love them some Moscato, some Riesling and stuff. Mama talking about she want a good old beer, okay? And then to round it out with number three, she done kicked off a piece of her friend's tooth play fighting with the damn Muay Thai fighting stuff, okay? So listen, Binh, you should be scared of her, okay? Because she ain't no punk, and she gonna stand up to you. Like, Binh doesn't seem like any sort of like person that's going to be combative or cause a problem or whatever. But please know that whatever issue you start, mama is capable to finish, okay? So you should be scared of her ass. I'm scared of her ass through this damn screen, okay? Now, really, y'all, I think that's all I wanted to talk about on this damn episode. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media at DatDamnDasher. And until next time, y'all, let the honeymoon continue. But I still want to hear about these new damn experts. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.